All right, man, peace. So star boxer and welterweight champion Errol Spence is now the toast of the boxing world. He recently sat down with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp to provide his take on a myriad of topics, including whether or not he believes Floyd Mayweather would have defeated Ray Leonard, and also how probable is a potential fight with Manny Pacquiao. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Our next guest dominated Mikey Garcia on Saturday night at Jerry World to retain his welterweight championship. He's now a perfect 25-0, and he even called out Manny Pacquiao after the fight. Errol Spence Jr., welcome to Undisputed.
Yes, sir.
Boy, all right, you dominated Garcia on Saturday. So were you frustrated at all? You really couldn't put him away?
Now the new media narrative is to try to take away from Errol Spence's performance that he couldn't knock out Mikey Garcia. It's not to congratulate him on his performance. It's why couldn't you knock him out?
Not really, because I think I showed a different dimension to my game.
For sure.
Because coming out during the whole press tour, people were saying I was going to bully him and just use, brute strength to beat him.
Right.
Well, that's what I thought.
And I showed, skills. I showed, I had a great jab. I could box. And I think overall I showed my boxing IQ.
You definitely did. Congratulations on that, brother.
You did, but you were able to hit him with whatever you wanted. The jab was working, the left, your southpaw, you was going right down Main Street through the guard. But the guy came up 2 weight classes. You're supposed to be able to put him away, Earl.
Yeah, I mean, after watching the fight, I think I could have put him away, but...
Yes, it was obvious to me that you could have put him away as well. But it was also relatively clear to me that you carried him for some reason. Either to inflict punishment for all the shit talking that he and his brothers were doing, or you were told by Al Heyman to not smash him too hard. And I think that it was option number one, because there's no doubt that there were some exchanges, especially when Mikey Garcia was against the ropes, where it appeared as if Errol Spence was purposefully missing punches.
I just wanted to show a different game. Right. I think I wanted to show that I could box. I do have skills. It's not all just coming forward and just fighting hard, because a lot of people try to compare me just, to Marvin Hagler.
Right.
And I got different dimensions in my game than just coming forward. I can box too. I
have to say I was very impressed, especially with what Errol showed in his ability to box going backwards. I'd never seen that before from him. He showed great head movement. And the comp that he just brought up between himself and Marvin Hagler is one that I've used in the past as well. So the diversity with which he can, box is going to help him down the line, especially as his competition gets better and better. And like he says, he is the money man now. So most of the higher level welterweights and even the junior middleweights are going to be looking at him and eyeing him in the very near future.
Because I just wanted to show that I can outbox him, and I think I got more credit beating him that way instead of just running him over.
I'm not quite sure about that. I don't know if you got more credit for outboxing him. I think that you probably would have gotten the most credit if you would have outboxed him and then stopped him, beat him down, got a couple of knockdowns late in the fight. But, it is what it is. It's okay. You can't make everybody happy.
I give him some credit. I kept tweeting this. It's going to be a moral victory for him if he can finish this fight on his feet, because there were times I didn't think he was going to last.
He wasn't supposed to last. His corner should have stopped the fight. And, certain cats came in my comment section in the post-fight video that I did and said, well, Robert Garcia tried to stop the fight. No, Robert did not really try to stop the fight. He asked Mikey if he wanted to continue. And, of course, that's something that you do when you're managing or when you're the corner man for a great fighter. But you also have to be able to understand when you have to save someone from themselves. Sometimes you have to do that. Diego Corrales' stepdad stopped that ass whooping that Floyd Mayweather was giving him way back in the day. I think they fought in 2000. Sometimes you have to protect your fighter from himself.
It wasn't like you were trying to put him away, but I give him credit. He's got a jaw now. He can take some shots because he took a bunch from you. And I think he's got a big heart to him. He's got some guts. Did he earn a little of your respect?
Let me say this very quickly about Mikey Garcia. And I gave him a lot of credit for that ass whooping that he took as well. But you know what? There's only so much credit that you can get for getting your ass whooped. Adrien Broner stated, he said, no disrespect to Mikey Garcia, but when I moved up to 147, I was actually able to win a title at 147. But when I got beat by the boogeyman in the division, Marcos Maidana, everybody came down on me. And now they're congratulating Mikey Garcia. Well, Adrien Broner does not understand that when you create a persona you have to deal with the consequences of the persona that you create. Mikey Garcia's persona, pretty much for the entirety of his career, has been someone who's respectful and respectable. Adrien Broner's persona is someone who is inflammatory and who's confrontational. So you have to be able to deal with whatever the repercussions are going to be for the hat that you put on. If you put on a white hat, people are going to be more gracious towards you. If you put on a black hat, people are going to be more denigrating towards you when things don't go your way. So once again, Adrien Broner doesn't get it. But just to get back to the point, yeah, sometimes we can harp a little bit too much on a fighter who got his ass whooped, giving him credit. Mikey deserves a certain amount of credit for his toughness, but that's about it. He's not going to get any Purple Hearts or anything like that.
Just standing in?
He definitely earned my respect of standing in and even just taking a fight. Because a lot of these welterweights, didn't want to take that opportunity.
What you trying to say?
Yo, Errol be talking about these other welterweights like they some bitches, man. Like he talks about them like they some straight up hoes. A lot of these other welterweights, like they got panties on.
A lot of them ducking me.
Skip, you heard what
There we go. Yeah.
Hold on. What you trying to say? You trying to say Keith Thurman and Sean Porter, they ducking you?
Definitely. I mean, like I said, the Mikey Garcia fight probably wouldn't have happened if Sean Porter would have took the fight. When he fought Danny Garcia, I got in the ring and told him, let's make this fight happen.
Look, I said at the time the fight was not going to happen. When Errol Spence got in the ring and called out Sean Porter, I could see Sean Porter's top lip start shaking when he was responding to Errol Spence. So everybody knows who the boogeyman of the division is. Everybody knows who the big bully of the division is. And unfortunately for these other fighters, the biggest, strongest, hardest hitting guy in the division also happens to probably be the most skilled fighter as well. And also probably have the best chin of any fighter in the division. So at the end of the day, it's going to become a dynamic where either you're going to have to fight Errol Spence or give up your belt. It's very simple shit. And when it comes to Terence Crawford, once again, I'm tired of hearing him yell from across the fence. You signed back with that other promotional company who does not like to do business with anybody else. Be quiet and pipe down. Stop running on Instagram and on Facebook and Twitter and all that other shit trying to call out Danny Garcia and Sean Porter and all these other guys who the fight is not going to happen. It's not going to be made with them. It's just that you're embarrassed inwardly that you signed back with Bob Arum. So you have to act like you want these fights. You don't really want those fights. You want to be comfortable and you want to allow Bob Arum to do all the promotional work for you. And once again, it's not that I'm saying that Terence Crawford is scared. He's not scared. It's just that he's lazy. He does not want to have the lion's share of the work in putting in the promotion for the fight. So he'd rather sign back with Bob Arum than go to Al Heyman and get the big fights made. I'm just tired of hearing him run his mouth talking about how all these guys are scared and all these dudes on social media or on YouTube talking about how Terence Crawford is the real guy and everybody's scared of him. Ain't nobody scared of Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford needs to bring his ass over to the varsity side of the welterweight division. Right now, he's on the JV side.
He said, okay, it's easy to be made. After that, he took his mandatory instead of fighting me, so I took Mikey Garcia.
Are you saying he is afraid of you?
I'm not saying he's afraid of me. I'm just saying he doesn't want to get in there just yet.
Well, Errol, he's kind of scared, bro. That man is kind of scared of you. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Once again, when Errol got in the ring to call out Sean Porter after Sean was able to defeat Danny Garcia, not only did Sean look scared, but his father looked scared too.
But hold on, you told the man he couldn't sell out his family reunion. So how is he gonna? Why is he gonna fight you? You talking crazy about it?
That should make him want to fight me more. I mean, we're boxers, so if a guy,
so you keep jugging, you antagonizing that man.
Yeah, I mean, antagonizing him. He definitely should take the fight then.
Of course, you brothers out there, you can't see the visuals for this interview, but I could tell that Errol Spence and Shannon Sharp probably were speaking a lot backstage because their rapport was very strong in this interview. They have a lot in common. They're both from the South. They both love dogs. For those of you who don't know, Errol Spence is a big-time dog person. I think that he even trains dogs. And Shannon Sharp is a big dog person as well. So they were probably chopping it up a lot backstage because, once again, if you see the interview in real time, their rapport was very strong in the interview.
I know one man who can sell out lots of family reunions, and that's Manny Pacquiao, and you were campaigning for him after the fight.
Manny's not going to give him the fight. Manny wants to fight Floyd. If he's not going to get Floyd, he's probably going to fight Thurman.
He was in the ring with you, and you called him over, and he was a little sheepish about it because I'm not sure he wants a piece of you either.
Why would he? Manny Pacquiao can't win that fight.
You would like a piece of the money that he could bring to the ring, right?
Definitely, I think it makes sense. He holds the record at the AT&T Stadium, selling 51,000 plus. I did 48,000. I mean, he's a huge pay-per-view draw, as you see when he fought Adrien Broner. He's a future Hall of Famer, and he's the guy that I watched, from a kid. And he's just a great fighter, and I would love to have that fight. I think it'll sell out great at the AT&T Stadium.
It'll definitely sell out. For as long as it lasts, there's going to be a lot of people in the stadium to watch Manny Pacquiao get his ass wazazazaz up.
3,000 plus.
You want that dub on your resume that you put Pacquiao to sleep. That's what you want on your resume.
Of course.
Well, definitely. Your idols become your rivals. You know what I mean?
Well, that's true. But unfortunately, your idol rival is 40 years of age.
Yeah, go around beating up old people.
I mean, that's true. But, I mean, he also, beat Adrien Broner, too, on pay-per-view. So he has a...
It's so funny. Whenever the conversation topic of Manny Pacquiao versus Errol Spence comes up, the first thing that the interviewer brings up is Manny Pacquiao's age. But then they'll come back and say, well, how about Floyd Mayweather? Floyd Mayweather's not going to fight you because he's scared of you. But Floyd is older than Manny Pacquiao. But all these interviewers are trying to dissuade Errol Spence from fighting Manny Pacquiao because supposedly Manny Pacquiao's too old. But he's younger than Floyd Mayweather.
He has a win. It's not like he's coming off a loss.
No.
I mean, he beat Luke Matisse too. So,
I keep getting quotes sent to me by Manny's PR man, and he is campaigning through the PR man for Floyd. He wants a Floyd rematch.
That's why he came to PBC in the first place. I've been said that. The only reason why Manny Pacquiao signed with the PBC is to get the Floyd rematch. That's how they lured him in. It's becoming more and more apparent to me that the reason why Floyd acted as if there was going to be a fight against Manny Pacquiao was to help out Al Heyman and himself, because I believe that he has some shares in the PBC, to lure Manny Pacquiao over with the promise of potentially fighting him. And Manny's probably not going to get the fight with Floyd, but you never know. Still could happen.
Because at least Floyd's, what's he,
42? He's older than Manny.
Yeah,
Manny's
2 years old.
Yeah, Manny's 40. Yeah. He's 42. Yeah. Man, stop. Leave Floyd alone.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, brother.
Well, that's Manny wants that payday, and you want the Manny payday, right?
Tell him you'll play Floyd too.
I think we'll have a great payday. AT&T Stadium.
I know. Would you take it easy on Manny? In your heart of hearts, would you go?
Listen to Skip Bayless talking about take it easy on Manny.
Would you go in and take it easy on him?
No.
You tried to get him up.
Errol said, no. He got to get them ribs broken too.
Get him up out of there.
Huh? Get him up out of there.
I mean, this is...
My motto's man down.
Yeah. I compared it the other day. I covered Ali's last fight in the Bahamas against Trevor Berbick, and it was the saddest thing I ever watched because Ali...
Well, Ali had no business in the ring, but the reason why he had to keep fighting was, number one, he had money issues. Number two, he was a slave to fame. And I cannot accentuate this enough. The reason why so many of these media outlets are so negative towards Floyd Mayweather is because, number one, he's not a corporate whore, meaning he's not owned by anyone. There's no one making money off of Floyd Mayweather except for Floyd Mayweather, so that's why they dog him out. If Floyd Mayweather was still a corporate whore, if he was still with Bob Arum, you would notice that the spin on Mayweather and the mainstream media outlets would be completely different, because he would be owned, especially owned by a Caucasian Jewish man. But because he's not, they try to demonize him. And also, he changed the paradigm of boxing. Floyd Mayweather understood when to let go. He actually started his own boxing senior circuit, which is something that, unfortunately, other great fighters were not smart enough to do.
He was just a shell of himself, and I don't want to see... I love Manny, and I don't want to see you just punish Manny.
So then he needs to retire. If you don't want to see Errol Spence punish Manny Pacquiao, then he should retire.
And he'd like knock him into retirement.
Well, I mean, he should retire then.
Thank you, sir.
And if you don't want to fight the top guys in the division.
But you got to be careful now. He can still punch now.
Oh, he can still fight.
And you know, in fights now, with the throw punches, you got to take something.
Oh, definitely. I'm not worried about that at all.
So you don't listen. You just look at her, you just go bully that man.
I'm not gonna bully him.
No, Errol's not going to bully him. Errol's not dumb enough to try to bully Manny Pacquiao, because that's really what Manny wants. Manny wants you to try to come in there on some bully shit. He gonna put his head down and start trying to fight you like a 7-year-old. You know how Manny fight in the exchanges. He puts his head down. He's looking at the ground. He's throwing all the wild punches. He hopes to catch you with something. That's what Manny's going to try to do. What Errol's going to do against Manny Pacquiao, should he get the fight, is stay at range, try to use his jab, and try to sucker Manny into jumping in like Manny likes to do, and catch him with a straight left with Manny jumping in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, I feel like, he's a great fighter. I feel like it's going to be competitive.
Right.
Because Pacquiao has heart. Pacquiao has amazing heart.
He definitely has
he's a warrior.
He has so much heart. I mean, he's damn near idiotic with the amount of heart that he has. There's no doubt about that. Manny Pacquiao, he's definitely about it.
Warrior, he's a guy that's going to fight. He's going to give you his all. He's not scared of anyone. So I think it is going to be a tough fight. He's not going to just lay down.
Right. And he's a southpaw also.
He's a southpaw too.
So now you're going to have to really sit down on the punches, unless you catch him with one of the Marquez where he just walks into it and you throw it at the same time.
He just got bored. I mean, that was like the 5th fight.
Wait.
He said till Skip Bayless always say some dumb shit. Manny Pacquiao, he got knocked out because he was bored. It was the 17th time he was fighting one man, one market. What do you expect, Shannon? Errol Spence. Good, let him get bored and I'll fight. When you get bored, that's when you go to sleep.
Hey, Errol said, I hope he get bored in my fight.
Exactly.
So I can catch him with one.
Definitely.
So would you like to knock out Manny Pacquiao? Would that make you happy?
Definitely. I'd like to knock out all my opponents.
All right.
So you fight Pacquiao.
Yo, Skip is so depressed. Like, he's the biggest fanboy in the media. Quiet as kept, Skip is also a LeBron James fan. If you pay very close attention, when he realized that the Lakers were not going to make the playoffs, he got upset. Because a hater is just a fan turned inside out. That's it.
Pacquiao, the fight goes the way you plan, you win, the decision, knock him out. Do you think, if you beat Pacquiao, you actually think Thurman or Sean Porter going to take a fight with you?
They're going to have to. That's the thing, Shannon. Right now, Errol Spence's profile is getting so big, and he's becoming the money man in the sport. So now these other fighters are going to be willing to take that ass whooping. That's why I've mentioned in previous videos with Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman knew how good Errol Spence was 6-7 years ago, but it wasn't worth it for him to fight Errol Spence. My issue with Keith Thurman is that if you knew that you were going to get a Floyd Mayweather fight if you fought and beat Errol Spence, why would you not fight Errol Spence? I understand it if it was just fight Errol Spence, this prospect who's 13-0 and who's not even that highly ranked on some of the sanctioning bodies' ranking systems. But Floyd Mayweather said, fight Errol Spence and beat him and you'll get a fight with me, and Keith Thurman said no. So that should have showed you that he knew from back then who Errol Spence was.
Definitely. I feel like they don't have anybody else to fight.
Exactly.
And I feel like now I'm transitioning. Like one of my other models I always used to say on Twitter is tables turn. When I was 13-0, I was calling out these guys. They didn't want to fight me. But now, Sean Porter's a little bit more open. After my fight, he said he would like that fight,
Well, Sean Porter knows that he has to fight you because it's going to be an embarrassment if he doesn't. Sean Porter, he's already got the belt back. He beat Danny Garcia. He beat his mandatory in Ugas. So where's he going to run now? Sean, the thing is that Errol wants to fight again in July or August. I'm not quite sure if Sean is going to want to fight again in July or August after that ass whooping that he took against Ugas. That was a very damaging fight for both fighters. So, right now, Sean is caught between a rock and a hard place. Deep down, Sean is hoping that Manny Pacquiao says yes to Errol Spence's fight offer.
Keith Thurman still keeping the same energy, saying we're not going to fight till 2020.
Keith Thurman said, look, son, we're going to fight in 2025, son. It's going to be a big mix.
What are they waiting on?
I don't know what he's waiting on. I've been calling out Keith Thurman for a long time.
You have?
A long, long time. And, he's never mentioned my name.
What about?
Because he's scared to death. No, he's mentioning your name. He's mentioning your name in reference to who he's running from.
What about you at 140? You going to move up?
Eventually, he's going to have to move up. But what Errol needs to do is he needs to bring together all those titles first. So once he knocks down everybody at welterweight, the last fight hopefully being Terence Crawford, then you move up to 154. And we'll see if his homeboy Jermell Charlo is still there. And if he is, if he wants to give him that shot at the title. Who knows? Jermell might not even be the title holder by the time Errol Spence gets there, but eventually he is going to move up to 154.
It could be a possibility. It could be possible.
What do you walk around at? What's your walk around weight? Be honest.
Probably 170.
Yeah, there we go. Well, you said the other day like 175.
Yeah, 170, 175.
Yeah.
Because you're probably 2 weight classes down. I mean, you block 2 weight classes down. You could literally box at 60, easy.
Yeah, I could fight.
Well, that's probably where he's going to end his career, at about 160, probably for a major Canelo fight. I could see that about 3 or 4 years from now. The good news for Errol is that Canelo's actually younger than him. So if Errol Spence is smart, which I believe that he is, he'll follow the Floyd Mayweather paradigm and eventually move up to fight the biggest Hispanic superstar in boxing, because that is normally what creates the biggest audience, the best black fighter versus the best Hispanic fighter. And with a cash cow like Canelo waiting for you, who's younger than you, and who really is not going to be able to move up much past 160 because he's too short. Even though he's stocky, he's really too short to move up past 160 too much anyway. I mean, he can get a belt at 168, you know, if they fight, you know, like a catch weight of 165 or something like that. But Canelo's really not a 168-pound guy. So I think that Canelo will be waiting for Errol Spence at 160, or maybe, you know, somewhere in that 168 range. And that is where Errol can end his career. Right now he's 29 years old. We'll see how much longer he wants to fight. But that's definitely a goal that he should have, and I'm sure that he does have it.
Probably 60, 54.
Ooh.
They throw
That would
leather.
be dangerous
They
for somebody.
throw leather up there.
Yeah.
You know they throw, as you go up in weight, they throw leather.
I give level 2.
Oh, okay, that's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. That's why I be watching your fight.
So, the greatest boxer ever was
Floyd Mayweather Jr. I'm sure that a lot of people will not like that. Floyd Mayweather Jr., pound for pound, inch for inch, every aspect. He is the greatest boxer of all time. Certain people will say Sugar Ray Robinson. Ray Robinson, in my view, was the greatest fighter of his era. To me, he was light years ahead of all the other fighters in his era. I would have loved to have seen him against fighters like Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns, etc. I would have loved to have seen that. But people have to understand, Ray Robinson fought in an era where the fighters wore 6-ounce gloves. He fought in an era where they pretty much only allowed 1 or 2 black fighters at a time to ascend to a championship level. And he happened to be that chosen guy. So I just think that it's a bit different. When you watch Ray on film, dynamite puncher with both hands, great speed, great elusiveness, good defense. But when you look at Floyd Mayweather, and it also depends on what your definition of great is. If your definition of great is who's the best power puncher, who's the most exciting to watch, then it might not be Floyd. But for people who have different sensibilities and who enjoy chess and things of that nature, then it will be Floyd. Because Floyd does everything at a 10 out of 10 other than being a one-punch power puncher. That's basically it.
Ali,
because
not only, you know, he beat a lot of great champions, but, you know, it's what he did outside the ring, too, that, you know, added in there, too. So, you know,
Ali was the most talented, the most gifted heavyweight of all time. He was not the greatest fighter of all time. There were too many things that he just didn't do. He didn't go to the body. He didn't know how to defend against the left hook or the overhand right. That's why he got hit with so many of them, especially later on in his career. He didn't train hard for many of his fights, particularly later on in his career. So it's very difficult for me to ever call him the greatest boxer ever when you look at those things.
You know, he beat, you know, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, you know, all these great athletes. But, you know, what he was outside the ring and what he stood for and things like that, you know, makes him, you know, the all-time great. So
Ali's the all-time greatest sports personality, but I don't factor that in when evaluating boxing. I just don't, and I don't think that you can. But I would say this: Muhammad Ali at his prime, at his peak, for his era, he was the most dominant heavyweight fighter ever. For the mid to late 60s, Ali circa 1966 is the best heavyweight champion that I've seen. And I'm sure that people will say, well, what about Mike Tyson in the mid 80s? Mike Tyson was a phenomenon. But Mike Tyson showed certain personality flaws even from back then. He also showed that he was vulnerable to certain styles, especially the Ali type style. There were many fighters in the mid to late 80s, who were able to go 12 rounds with Mike Tyson using the Muhammad Ali style even during that time period. And we know the fighter who eventually beat Mike Tyson for the first time, Buster Douglas, used the Muhammad Ali style.
No, I have to say Ali.
In your division, 147. There were a lot of great fighters in that division.
Yep.
From Hearns, Leonard, yourself, Mayweather. Who's the best welterweight of all time?
The best welterweight of all time? That's a great question. If we're just talking about pure welterweight, it would probably be Sugar Ray Robinson. And then also Sugar Ray Leonard, probably number 2. I'd probably say Ray Robinson number 1 and Ray Leonard number 2. Now, certain people might say, well, wait a minute. You just said that Floyd Mayweather was better than Ray Leonard. Well, yes, he is, but Floyd Mayweather is not really a 147-pounder. Floyd Mayweather is a 130-pounder. And that's what people don't realize when they make these comparisons. Floyd Mayweather pretty much topped out at 147. But his skill level was so exemplary that he was able to move up to the 154-pound weight class for his most lucrative fights. But he really was a 130-pounder. When we're talking about the greatest welterweights of all time, you're talking about guys like Ray Robinson, Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, so on and so forth.
Of all time, I would have to say Ray Leonard.
I agree. Thank you.
Better than Floyd?
Yeah.
No, Ray Leonard's not better than Floyd, but just as a welterweight, Ray Leonard is a pure welterweight. Floyd is not a pure welterweight.
Ray Leonard was in the golden era, man.
Oh, they fought back then.
He was fighting, Tommy Hearns and Duran and.
Let me say this real quick, because me and a brother had a conversation about this a few days ago. This notion about these fighters and they were all fighting each other back in that era. Ray Leonard was pretty much forced to fight most of those top guys that he fought. He didn't have an option. You know how long he tried to string along Tommy Hearns before he fought him for the first time? Much less making him wait 8 years for the rematch. You know how long Ray Leonard made Marvin Hagler wait for their fight? The only reason why Ray Leonard rematched Duran immediately is because he lost the first fight. If Ray Leonard had won the first fight, Duran would have had to wait 10 years to fight Ray Leonard again. So a lot of what we hear today is narrative. And I think that it would behoove us to be more honest about history, because not much has changed.
Hagler and all these, Hall of Famers. Mm-hmm. And, they was fighting in their prime, too.
Right.
So,
There wasn't no ducking and dodging back then.
Like, Floyd's a great fighter, and, he broke a lot of records. He did a lot of great things, phenomenal.
Floyd Mayweather also beat the most world champions of any fighter in history. And that's the thing that is always so interesting to me, is the sentiment that people try to push or propagate that Floyd Mayweather's resume or his competition is not up to par with many of these other great fighters. Do yourself a favor, go on BoxRec and look up Sugar Ray Robinson's roster of fighters that he fought against, and how many fighters that he fought against who had losing records, and how many fighters that he would knock out and then fight the same guy 2 weeks later. People come in with that shit. Oh, well, at one time he was 121, 1-2, and all. Of course, he was fighting cab drivers. He was fighting cab drivers, and then every once in a while he would fight Jake LaMotta. So, and I'm not trying to besmirch the brother's record. You fight who you fight. But don't just tell me about how many wins he has. We have to go through his roster of opponents. Floyd Mayweather, once again, has beaten the most world champions of any fighter in history. He's made the most money, also, of any fighter in history. Sold the most pay-per-views. So how could he not be the greatest fighter ever? It just does not make sense.
If Floyd and Sugar Ray fought each other, I'd probably say Floyd to beat Sugar Ray.
No, he wouldn't.
In his prime? No. A lot of people...
Wait a second.
No doubt about it. Floyd would beat Sugar Ray Leonard. He would frustrate Sugar Ray Leonard. He just would. Ray Leonard was great against fighters who came at him. Now, he was able to defeat Benitez because Benitez did not throw enough. But when you have a fighter like Floyd, what Floyd's going to do is he's going to go to Ray Leonard's body. He's going to go to his body, and he's going to push him. He's going to make him fight going backwards. Very similar to how he fought Zab Judah. Floyd is not going to try to stand in the middle of the ring and just allow Ray Leonard to dance around him. He's going to cut the ring off, and he's going to try to pressure him. And that's part of the greatness of Floyd, is that he could fight in a myriad of ways. Ray Leonard, of course, dynamic fighter, great power puncher, great speed. So you have to watch him because, you know, he's someone who could hurt you from round 1 to round 15. But what Floyd would do, no doubt in my mind, he would cut the ring off.
Ray's is Floyd with offense.
No, not quite. Actually, it's the opposite. Actually, Floyd is Ray with defense, because Ray Leonard did not have great defense. He did not. He did not have great defense. His defense was above average. What Ray Leonard was a superlative athlete. He was a greater athlete. He's probably the greatest natural athlete in the history of the welterweight division, or right up there. When you just talk about hand-eye coordination, foot speed, hand speed, power, he's right there with anybody as far as just being naturally gifted. But Floyd Mayweather has wrinkles that even Ray Leonard doesn't have. That's the reason why Ray Leonard's style did not age well. When Ray started to age and get into his mid to late 30s, you start to see he started to get his ass whooped. Go look at what my man did to him. What's my man named? The Puerto Rican fighter in Ray's last fight. Hector Macho Camacho beat the living shit out of him. That would never happen to Floyd.
You talking about Money Mayweather. Now we talk about Pretty Boy. Pretty Boy had offense. Pretty Boy was fighting. Pretty Boy was stopping guys, and Pretty Boy was a lot more offensive than Money Mayweather. That was like Money is like the older one, where he was, you know, his hands was hurting, and you know he was more after revenue than, you know, his fight.
I like that. He was after revenue. He got revenue.
Yeah,
right.
That's the point. He had a plan.
Right?
He did.
No one's there.
Errol Spence is about to move towards that phase also. Don't be shocked to see him change his name. Go from Errol the True Spence to Errol Bank Account Spence.
Never got revenue.
I like what you said, Errol. Idols become your rivals. Maybe we'll be seeing that in the future. Thank you so much for being here, for your time, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Boy, good to have you. All right, we'll be right back with more Undisputed.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. Good luck to the brother Errol Spence in his future. So peace.